Good day, everyone. Welcome to Real Conservative Weekend News. I'm your host, Nathaniel Rajkumar. Starting off locally here in Trinidad and Tobago. Opposition leader Pennelope Beckles, Penny, has pledged to work with the government to address the national crime crisis following a tragic triple homicide in Belmont that resulted in the death of Akini Kafi and his father, Akil Kafi, and Anthony Wilson. Emphasizing that citizen safety must transcend partisan politics, Beckles called for a collective approach involving civil society and the private sector to restore national security. Hear what she's saying? Restore national security. As it had safety and law and order in Trinidad and Tobago under the mighty Morphin Ghanaian PNM. Because when exactly did we have national security, proper national security here in our country for the past, over a decade? What exactly is she trying to imply? While offering collaboration, she also criticized recent inflammatory political rhetoric and urged a focus on community values to provide hope for the nation's youth. Now, listen to this, people. You see what I'm talking about? It's all about politics. It's all about games. It's all about campaigning from now for 2030 when she's hoping to become Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. Because, people, it's not a rhetoric, statistical facts, statistical data. There are very, very, very dangerous places here in Trinidad and Tobago like the Beetham and Laventil and Sealot and many places in Digo Martin. There's also some places like in central Shagona, certain places in Shagona is extremely dangerous. Even in the east, on my side, here in Sangre Grande, there are certain areas in Sangre Grande and Valencia that are very dangerous. But the most notorious hotspots in the entire country is in the Port of Spain area, the Port of Spain district, and those are very strong PNM districts. So nobody is trying to stigmatize anyone. If there was less crime taking place in those areas, no one would have been able to call them hotspots. The TTPS wouldn't have been able to deem those areas hotspots, crime hotspots. So this is not about trying to stigmatize anybody. Penny, this is about speaking facts. Those areas are plagued with crime and plagued with gang culture. My response is a miracle. The powers of the mighty Morphin Ghanaian has given Penny and her patriots the wisdom needed to address TNT's crime issue, even though they lacked that knowledge for the past 9.5 years. Bless you, Penny. Of course, I'm being sarcastic there. But it's just, once again, as I said before, it's just about playing politics. Penny is be acting as though, and the Kakash media are also going along with that game, as though crime has suddenly spiraled out of control, Even though the statistics show that under the PNM for the past 9.5 years, we had the highest death tolls, murder tolls per annum, people. So what exactly is she talking about, and what the Kakash media talking about? And mass shootings, there were multiple mass shootings under the mighty Morphin Ghanaian coal pot bicycle PNM. But you see, the hypocrisy continues. The hypocrisy continues because everybody's agenda right now is to try to demonize the UNC government and the Kamala Prasad administration, of course. On May 9th, 2026, Prime Minister Kamala Prasad predecessor announced that Nelson Island will be renamed to honor the 114,000 Indian laborers who arrived in Trinidad and Tobago between 1866 and 1917. Now, contrary to what a lot of people will be seeing online recently, these AI historical videos, my ancestors, well, half of my ancestors, the East Indians, weren't captured and forced to come to the Caribbean. They came voluntarily. They were deceived to an extent about certain agreements and whatsoever, but they were not captured and forced to come to the Caribbean. Accompanied by India's Minister of External Affairs, Dr. S. Jaishankar, the Prime Minister explained that the site would reflect the history of these workers rather than its colonial past. A committee led by the National Trust is now inviting the public to suggest names that capture the island's importance as a place of memory and heritage. With financial support from the Indian government to restore the buildings, this initiative aims to transform the island into a lasting symbol of national identity for the descendants of those who helped shape the country. Now, I think they could have done that without renaming the place. I mean, you're just continuing it with honestly speaking. Remember, I'm not just going to be blindly supporting anybody, you know. I think you could probably put up certain monuments or whatsoever to remember those who came before us, our ancestors. Nothing wrong with that. That would be wonderful. But why continue PNM's tribal renaming and erasing of our colonial past? I want my white heritage to be remembered as well, along with my East Indian heritage and along with other people's African heritage and Chinese heritage. Why are we erasing? Because they were the colonials. We want to erase everything that can be identified with them. Yes, a lot of things in the colonial past was bad, like slavery, but there was a lot of good as well. We became a democracy, and we have Western civilization values. We're a civilized country. We're supposed to be civilized, putting aside the gang wars and stuff like that. Right? We are a civilized country with laws that are based on the Ten Commandments. We have to be thankful for the colonials for bringing the gospel of Jesus Christ to the Caribbean as well. So why are we trying to erase our colonial past? You could have embraced both. Prime Minister Kamala Prasad says, find something else to put there to be able to recognize and remember our ancestors without having to rename the place.
Weather report for Sunday, May 10, 2026, Trinidad and Tobago. The day will be hot and primarily sunny with a high of 32 degrees Celsius and a low of 25 degrees Celsius. Expect slightly hazy and breezy conditions due to a mild to moderate concentration of Saharan dust. The heat index will make it feel as hot as 35 degrees Celsius. There is a low chance of brief isolated showers during the day and an odd shower overnight. Winds will be gentle to fresh from the northeast to southeast, ranging from 5 to 35 kilometers per hour. Seas are forecast to be slight to moderate with open water waves near 1.5 meters. Sensitive persons should take precautions as Saharan dust levels fluctuate.
International news now. The IRGC, the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Terrorist Navy, announced that from now on, any attack against Iranian oil tankers or commercial vessels will be met with a response against U.S. bases, proxies in the region, and ships. You see how they're always moving, like terrorists always moving like that to the like cowards, you know. Because at the end of the day, okay, you're being attacked, okay? And that is because the Trump administration continues to use their power to try to force the Iranian terrorist regime into compliance and telling them, listen, you're not going to be able to do any trade to be able to generate revenue as long as you continue to have the desire and the goal to develop nukes, to enrich your uranium to develop nukes. We're going to prevent you from doing that. So that's what the blockade is all about. But it seems as though the IRGC and the Ayatollah just want the actual war to be resumed. Because they continue to fire upon American ships and so forth. And it's not even just that. That's the point about it. If it is they want to fire back at the ships, then okay. But they're not doing that. What you're doing instead, you want to go and attack innocent people in other places. Places that usually are even allies with you. Just because you have American bases there. That's cowards. That's being a coward. It's like when you have a bully. And the bully beating up these younger, weaker kids. Right? And then all of a sudden, the big brother comes and starts to beat the bully. And the bully say, well, you know what? Seeing that you bring your brother to beat me up, I'm going to go and target even more kids, and I'm going to come back and target you to beat you up too. Instead of beating up the bully. Because, you know, the Iranians know, the Iranian terrorists and the Ayatollah and the IRGC know they cannot fight against these battleships, these massive, huge battleships. So they want to go and target other people instead. It's nonsense. It's nonsense that is taking place. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Esmail Baghi, in a letter to the United States, said there will be no agreement that includes the cancellation of Iran's nuclear program. We've been hearing that for months upon months now. It's just that it seems as though Trump and Witkoff and them they just believe somehow or the other this type of pressure, even with the blockade, will make the terrorists change their mind. In other words, Tehran is once again making it clear they are willing to negotiate terms, sanctions, and timelines, but not the existence of their nuclear ambitions. They are not going to give up that. This is exactly why every previous agreement failed. The regime doesn't view its nuclear program as a bargaining chip. Trump administration knows that. It views it as a strategic pillar of survival and regional domination. It's not about survival, really, you know. It's about destruction and domination. They have their goal of destroying little Satan and big Satan and the infidels around the world. And the little Satan is in their mind and in their eyes is Israel, and America is the big Satan. And they believe that by destroying these infidels, they're going to usher in their Messiah to come and restore jihad and Sharia law in the entire world. And then they will be able to rule the world for eternity. That's what they are trying to do, people. They are trying to destroy all their what they consider to be infidels, to usher in, to call back their Messiah back on earth. So no matter how much deals Trump tried to propose to them, they're going to reject it. Because they know the only way, in their mind, the only way to be able to accomplish their goal is to develop nukes. They know that. They know that, and they're not going to stop having that agenda, no matter what Trump says or does. And this blockade, as much as it is quite effective, it isn't going to make them change their mind either. The only way to stop these people is to finish the job in Iran. Will that happen, though? It doesn't appear to be so, because it's either two things. It's either Trump really finishes the job, but these radical jihadists will be still living in Iran, and at some point in time, they will take back control of Iran. Because the Bible does say in Ezekiel 38 that the time is coming when Persia, Iran, will unite with the kings of the north, most likely Russia, and of course Turkey and so forth, will unite with them to invade Israel. And God himself, knowing the plans of these evil enemies of Israel, will actually lure them, encourage them to come towards Israel. And then before they actually have the chance to be able to attack or destroy anything in Israel, God is going to utterly destroy them. Read Ezekiel 38, people. All the anti-Zionists and those who follow replacement theology. Read Ezekiel 38 and see what is coming in the future, probably even the near future. Russia, the god of the QAnon far-right movement, Russia, and of course Putin. They consider Putin to be the Messiah with his white hats. They used to think that about Trump too. But because Trump is standing firmly with Israel, they're turning against Trump. The far-right QAnons, who have Putin as the god above of all gods, and then Trump was supposed to be a demigod under him, it was never about really Trump, you know. It was always about Putin and Russia. They have now turned against Trump. So nevertheless, Russia is using the Caspian Sea to bypass the U.S. naval blockade and ship drone parts and food to Iran. Russia is a superpower, so the only way to stop Russia is to start World War III. Yeah? Because the Caspian is landlocked, American warships can't reach it, allowing Russian vessels to move cargo freely between the two nations. U.S. officials say this backdoor route is helping Tehran rebuild its military drone supply while securing essential goods like wheat and oil that have been cut off by the blockade in the south. So to all those QAnon individuals who, some of them didn't like Iran, I hope you're realizing more and more that Russia does not support America. Russia supports communists like China and terrorists like Iran. But you see, QAnon got you all trapped since 2020 with a lot of propaganda, right? Some truth, that's what Satan always does, mix truth with propaganda. And he started off making it look like it was all about Trump. But then they started to plant the seeds of Russia being a good guy too, and that Trump is very close with Putin, And they both of them together will restore righteousness on earth and reset the banking system and all kind of nonsense. And so they got the QAnon far right to trust and to basically worship Putin and Russia, right? Along with the Russian Orthodox type of replacement theology and stuff like that. So they got them to do that. And then because of that, and they realized, okay, well, Russia supporting Iran, they started, you hear about how Tucker Carlson and Candace Owen talking? As though the Ayatollah and these people are victims being attacked by the big, bad, evil America. The Americans are turning against their own America. They're ignoring the fact that the Ayatollah and the IRGC massacred over 40,000 protesters in Iran. They're ignoring all those evils. Because why? They're under QAnon spell. It was evil, and I've been warning about that for a long time now. But remember, my following is extremely small. If I had the kind of following that people like Amr Safati and other individuals outside there, Christian conservatives outside there, a lot more people would have been aware about QAnon. Now people are now starting to realize that there's an issue with the far right. They still don't actually mention QAnon though. I am telling you because I used to be listening to those videos in the very earlies, and especially after the 2020 elections. And when I started to realize that this sounded really ridiculous and that they're promoting Russia and glorifying Russia, that's when I realized, I'm done with that.
Bible quote of the day. Acts 13:30-36 NIV. But God raised him from the dead, and for many days he was seen by those who had traveled with him from Galilee to Jerusalem. They are now his witnesses to our people. We tell you the good news, what God promised our ancestors he has fulfilled for us their children by raising up Jesus. As it is written in the second Psalm, you are my son, today I have become your father. God raised him from the dead so that he will never be subject to decay. As God has said, I will give you the holy and sure blessings promised to David. So it is also stated elsewhere, you will not let your Holy One see decay. Now when David had served God's purpose in his own generation, he fell asleep, he was buried with his ancestors, and his body decayed.
Folks, that brings us to the end of today's news report. Thanks again to everyone who continues to support my content. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Stay blessed and stay safe most of all. In Jesus' name.